Hi, I'm Rizal, and welcome to my library challenge, March. For March, I have had prompts, one of the least borrowed on my local library, and one of the oldest books they have at my local library. And I thought that these two prompts would be quite easy. You just walk up to someone who works there and asks them, what are the oldest books you have and what are the least borrowed you have? Now, the oldest books were fairly easy. My library was established in 1780, so they just gave me some names and authors from the original run of the library. And I picked the book Nils Kimt by Ludvig Holberg. But one of the least borrowed turned out to be quite a challenge because most books were the least borrowed at my library. So in my country, books at the library are there because of two different criteria. Number one, what are popular books that people want to read and are therefore bought in so people can borrow so that the books can be available to anyone, no matter their economic stance. But number two, there is certain criteria that they are for buying books that aren't necessarily owned or wanted, that people want to read, but are considered to having such important cultural value. And these can be well-written books. Well, all of them are considered well-written books, but due to the themes, due to who has written them in regard to minorities in Norway, you also then buy a certain number of books because of their literary qualities and literary values. And these are books that should be available to the public, even if they aren't necessarily popular. So least borrowed became interesting to figure out. And one of the people that I talked to asked, well, maybe I just show you one of our shelves of books, and most of them will have been very little read. But after a while, I got a list of these books that have been bought in due to their literary qualities that haven't really been borrowed because people don't really know that they are there. But so I picked one of the oldest from that list, which I do know is not that unborrowed. And now I'm going to present them. So for the prompt, reading a book that is one of the oldest I have, as I stated, they gave me a bunch of names of authors that were in the original collection when the library was established in 1780. And Ludvig Holberg is quite naturally a part of that, because Ludvig Holberg is probably the most known Norwegian author around this time. He was born in Bergen and did a lot of his lived quite a bit in Bergen, but also a part in Denmark, because Norway and Denmark was in a form of union at the time. So all the money was in Denmark. So traveling back and forth, Ludvig Holberg is mostly known for his plays, where this journey between people traveling to Denmark and then coming back to Norway is a huge theme in a lot of his books. This is his most known novel, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to read this one. And it's Nils Klim's Travels in the Underground. Nils Klim's Underground Travels. And it's about Nils Klims, who is writing a memoir of his sort of life and talking about how he found a chasm and traveled down it and found a completely set of different worlds underground, and how he then moved from country to country in this new underground world and became master and king and all that good stuff. So this idea that sort of we live on the outer shelf, but underground in Earth, there is just a new world, isn't a lot of authors sort of played around with that idea. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, for example, around this time. So that was one of the things that they were reflecting on and philosophizing about. Well, what is underground? Because they didn't know yet, because the technology and the science hadn't caught up with them at that point. Now, I absolutely loved this book. It's such a funny book. But one thing that is very important for you to understand with Ludwig Holberg, that is, he is making fun of the main character. He is always making fun of the main character in all of his writing. So Nils Klims is a very standoffish person, and he is the smartest and the kindest and the best leader. And when he travels down underground, he saves different worlds from collapsing, and he is fighting wars and winning wars, and only he could have won those wars. And Ludwig Holberg is just taking the mick out of characters who actually believed this at the time. So because we are in the late 1600s, early 1700s, traveling around the world, being a form of discoverer, was quite common. And he is very much making fun of people with the white savior complex. This is absolutely made in jest. We are supposed to laugh at the main character for thinking that, well, I know that this country that I'm entering into does have a long history, does have its own values and morals, and it, on the surface, looks like they know what they're doing. But I know better. And it's and it's such a brilliant way where the weirdest thing, Nils Klims just proposes the sort of very controversial things, and every time someone sort of say, "But we shouldn't do that," he proves them wrong. Because Nils Klims is the bestest, smartest, greatest leader of all of them. And my dog absolutely agrees that Nils Klims can do no wrong. Which again is why it's so funny to read about him. Because you are supposed to laugh at him and the way that he thinks of it. Now, and then I came to the prompt, one of the least borrowed, and what I said with certain books being bought because of their literary qualities and then haven't been much borrowed. And one of the books that were on this book is Epp by Aksel Jensen. This has been translated into English, and I will leave a link to a place where you can read it online. If I can still find the place. And this is a science fiction book about Epp, who in the future is an old grump and lives on a planet where all pensioners live. So there's a planet only for pensioners and single pensioners, so pensioners without families. And his close friend has just died at the opening of the book. And Epp does not regret this person dying. He doesn't miss him, not at all. There is absolutely no way that Epp will mourn his friend that he has known for many, many years. No, not at all. Epp will not mourn this person, and he will, as an expert on wallpaper, rather go around to the different apartments on this pensioners' planet and comment on why have you not chosen the wallpaper with the 5 puppies that make a spiral in how they are placed, because that is the only logical wallpaper that anyone should be able to have. What do you mean that I am mourning my best friend? I do not miss him. I've already read this and I loved it. It's so wonderful when an author manages to take an old grump and really make you understand their humanity. Because there is no way that Epp misses his friends. There is sort of a weird choice that Aksel Jensen has made with this book in doing the science fiction setting with this planet that are just pensioners, and at night they are traveling between the apartments and spying on one another. I mean, I do know that there is, in some sense, the form of the isolation that you can feel when you are getting older, and the denial of who gets sort of access to my inner thoughts when you are in a mourning that you are not ready to admit is a mourning. So I loved this book the first time, and I loved it even more the second time. Grumpy Epp. So that was 2 books that I read, and subscribe and come back for April, where I again will read one of the least borrowed. I will again just move on my list for that. And the other one I'm going to read is Smooth at Library, which is whatever takes my fancy. But I also was quite interested in regarding to what I experienced at the library, that the library bought books that had high quality and should be available, but wasn't necessarily something that people were interested in and therefore were willing to borrow. And I really want to know what you think about this sort of way of organizing your library. If that is the same way that you have in your home country, if they sort of buy books partly based on what's popular, but also partly based on what sort of is good literature, should be available. And is this a good thing? Should we then also use this aspect of it? Are we we use the library to borrow books that we already know we want to read, but what do we then lose if the library has this accessibility of a lot of different books that have been deemed to have high quality? What do you think about how the libraries should be organized regarding which books we should have access to? The popularity versus what we think or someone thinks is high literary quality. let's talk about library books. And thank you for listening to me screaming into the void.